Just a reminder that if you need a headset, this would be the moment, because this presentation is going to be bilingual and a big part of it in French, at least 50% of it in French. Also, do feel free to tweet #ActionCanada. Alors, pour cette deuxième présentation, en fait, du deuxième groupe de travail, qui va porter sur l'évaluation des projets d'infrastructure de transport pour le développement des ressources du Nunavut, j'aimerais inviter Alexandra Laflamme-Sanders, qui sera la modératrice pour le deuxième groupe.
Breaking ground in Nunavut. But how? In a land that has so much potential, how can we unleash it? Today we'll look at how transportation infrastructure can accelerate growth in this territory. Last August, our group of fellows had the opportunity of going to Nunavut. For us, it was a life-changing experience. We want to take you back there. It was also where we got the inspiration for this project and where it all started. We want you to see the challenges that we saw, but also the tremendous number of opportunities.
Let's consider two realities. First, Nunavut is massive. It's majestic, it's rich. It's made up of over 2 million square kilometers loaded with iron ore, gold, diamonds, and base metals. A second reality. Nunavut faces huge challenges. It depends on the federal government for transfers to cover 91% of its annual budget. But when we talked to people in Nunavut, they told us that they were enthusiastic about development, about the prospect of long-term jobs and prosperity. So the challenge that we defined for our project is how to break ground in Nunavut, or more specifically, how to leverage resource wealth for the long-term prosperity of the territory. Now, there are lots of barriers to resource development in Nunavut. High cost of energy, the availability of skilled labor, and the utter and complete lack of transportation infrastructure. But these barriers can be overcome, and that's what we're going to be telling you about today. We'll pitch two ideas. First, that amongst all of the challenges that exist, all the barriers to resource development in Nunavut, the lack of infrastructure is a barrier that can be overcome. The second idea is that although assessing and financing transportation infrastructure is complex, it's a process that can be tailored to support communities and promote long-term growth.
Nunavut's population is only 36,000 people across 25 communities. This newest territory is also the only entity in Canada that is not connected to the rest of the country by road or rail. As you can see on this map, there are no roads, railways, or deep sea port up there. All the communities depend on air transportation to import and export goods. This lack of infrastructure adds extra costs to basic living necessities and limits potential development in sectors such as mining and resource extraction.
Rappelons-nous que la thématique de cette année était les leçons de l'histoire canadienne appliquées aux politiques publiques du Nord. Retournant en 1871, lorsque John A. Macdonald avait une vision de construire un chemin de fer de 5000 km de l'Atlantique au Pacifique. Maintenant, aujourd'hui, en 2014, nous avons un projet similaire qui s'annonce. Un projet d'une route qui lierait le Manitoba au Nunavut. Cette route de 1200 km, au coût de 1,2 milliard de dollars, lierait 5 communautés entre les deux régions. Ce projet est appuyé par les communautés du Manitoba et du Nunavut. Déjà, il y a un processus en cours au niveau de l'impact environnemental qui va prendre en compte les besoins et les réalités du peuple qui habite ce territoire. Donc, on peut faire une corrélation entre le projet de McDonald et celui-ci d'aujourd'hui, c'est d'unir le pays, de bâtir la nation et que maintenant, toutes les provinces et les territoires canadiens seraient reliés par voie terrestre.
L'histoire nous démontre aussi que le développement des infrastructures peut être un catalyseur pour le développement des ressources naturelles au pays. Pour vous donner un exemple, il y a plus de 80 ans, dans la région de l'Abitibi-Témiscamingue, dans l'ouest du Québec, il n'y avait absolument rien. Après avoir découvert de l'or, du cuivre et d'autres minéraux, le gouvernement fédéral et provincial ont décidé d'investir des fonds publics pour construire des routes. Ces investissements ont permis de développer la région, d'attirer des familles, de nouvelles industries, et aujourd'hui, 145 000 personnes y habitent. Au cours des dernières années, une centaine de mines ont été en exploitation et il y en a toujours 8 actuellement en opération. Il est donc possible de s'imaginer que des investissements stratégiques pour développer des infrastructures de transport peut être un catalyseur et ouvrir des voies au Nunavut. On croit que le projet BIPAR, dans l'ouest du Nunavut, pourrait être un de ces catalyseurs. Ce projet vise à construire une route et un port près de la communauté de Bathurst Inlet. La construction de ces infrastructures de transport permettrait de développer une partie du Nunavut, puisque 7 projets miniers y sont actuellement rattachés.
Déjà, il y a un projet en cours, dont le projet de la mine Meliadine, situé près de Rankin Inlet. Ce projet est vu positivement par les gens, non seulement puisque ce projet apporte des emplois à la communauté, mais également des retombées importantes au niveau de la collectivité. La construction d'une route entre le Manitoba et le Nunavut est le seul moyen de rendre l'industrie minière viable. Plusieurs personnes déjà de la communauté d'Arviat et de Rankin Inlet travaillent dans le secteur minier, particulièrement dans la mine de Meadowbank. Les gens de cette région nous ont également fait part de l'importance des études d'impact environnemental et l'étude d'impact sur les collectivités afin que tous les éléments doivent être pris en considération concernant la faune, la flore et les traditions locales.
Alors, nous croyons que le secteur minier représente le secteur ayant le plus de potentiel pour accélérer le développement économique du territoire. Dans ce contexte, il était important de rencontrer les compagnies minières afin d'obtenir leurs perspectives. Nous en avons rencontré 5. Pourquoi pas le Nunavut? Eh bien, ils ont dit la réponse est très simple. C'est la qualité et la quantité des gisements qui font en sorte qu'une mine va s'établir à un endroit. Ceci dit, ils recherchent aussi un environnement législatif stable avec des processus bien testés et bien rodés.
Where does this analysis take us? Having discussed the stakeholders we've engaged and the research we've undertaken, we now turn to our project's original contribution to this issue. First, there are a few considerations to keep in mind. There's limited funding in both the public and private sectors for this type of infrastructure. There are high risks in terms of building it. There's also potential long-term consequences, both positive and negative, to consider. On the positive side, there's economic development and opportunities for Nunavut. On the negative side, there could be environmental damage, community disruption. So assessing these considerations from the outset is essential to determining whether projects are worthwhile and which ones can provide the greatest return on investment. So a robust analysis of these trade-offs is required. Our team has created a three-step process for this analysis. As you can see, it's a funnel-like process. Proposed projects would start at the left. They would first undergo a desirability assessment. That would be followed by a cost-benefit analysis, and finally a financing assessment. So this process is primarily aimed at the territorial government, given that it plays a very important role in project selection, including for those projects that receive federal funding. First, I'm going to talk about the desirability assessment. So we define desirability as the creation of opportunities for lasting social benefit without causing significant adverse effects to the environment or to communities, as defined by things like the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act, the Nunavut Impact Review Board, Nunavut's community leaders, as well as other agreements and bodies. And we spoke, as Paul mentioned, with community leaders from Arviat, Pond Inlet, Rankin Inlet. They told us about a lot of things, including the potential effects that transportation infrastructure could have on their lifestyle and the requirement under the Nunavut Land Claims Agreement to assess all projects on this basis. And what we found from the Nunavut that we engaged was that they seek both economic development and the preservation of traditional lifestyles. And that if you undertake these consultations from the beginning, and you do this desirability assessment, you can better assess which transportation infrastructure projects serve both goals. And we recognize that there are existing means to do this that we've already talked about, like the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act, the Nunavut Impact Review Board. And we include them in our desirability assessment because they already exist and they add value. The next two steps of the three-step process help to refine the analysis.
On the one hand, you have the costs. So we're already doing a good job at measuring some of the costs, everything from design to construction to maintenance. There are other costs that must be taken into consideration. Take, for example, the potential risk of building infrastructure in Nunavut. We might not have all the information yet because we don't have that much experience. So that type of risk must also be factored in. On the other side, you have the benefits. Very often, when we think about benefits, we look at the tangible financial benefits. Yes, there will be royalties that will be paid for mining projects, and yes, there might be some financial returns from the transportation infrastructure itself. But it goes beyond that. It's looking at all the other benefits and including those in the calculation. So to give you a sense, there are social benefits. For example, job creation, training, educational opportunities that might be generated. There's another set of benefits that we need to also include. Those are security, sovereignty, and search and rescue capabilities. All of these can be improved and can be enhanced with an investment in infrastructure. To give you an example, there is a port, Nanisivik Port, that is in the northeast of the territory on Baffin Island. Should investments be made in this port to reinforce it and expand it, not only would it help Canada's sovereignty claim on the Arctic, but it will also facilitate extracting the resources that are on this island.
The third stage of our funnel now is to consider how these benefits are distributed and find an appropriate financing mechanism to match those benefits. So, to facilitate this process, we've come up with our financing assessment spectrum. To be clear, what we're trying to say here is that if most of the benefits that are going to be created through an infrastructure proposal are private, then it should mostly be created through private investment. By the same token, if we're going to have an initiative that is private that could be then shaped to provide more social benefits, perhaps making sure a road goes through a community to make sure that people can go and have jobs in the mine, then it would warrant some kind of public investment. So this is all public money. What we don't see in Nunavut, unlike the rest of Canada, is any kind of combination in the middle of the spectrum. There's been one example so far in Nunavut of a project that was conducted in the middle of the spectrum, and that was an initiative to upgrade the Iqaluit Airport. But why aren't we seeing more? We believe that there's a unique set of both costs and benefits in Nunavut that warrants innovative partnerships to be able to leverage those and really take advantage of the opportunities.
Nous avons maintenant 5 recommandations à faire et toutes nos recommandations s'adressent aux organismes de gouvernance inuit et aux divers gouvernements, tant fédéral, territorial et municipal. Premièrement, nous leur recommandons d'effectuer une évaluation détaillée en fonction du processus à 3 étapes que nous venons de vous présenter. Nous soutenons qu'il est important que ces intervenants comprennent qu'il n'y a pas de projet parfait et que bien des projets viables nécessiteront des compromis, tant en ce qui a trait aux avantages économiques, aux coûts environnementaux et les impacts potentiels sur le mode de vie des Inuits.
Notre deuxième recommandation est d'avoir une vision novatrice tant face au développement économique du Nunavut. Alors, les chefs inuits qu'on a sondés nous ont dit qu'ils veulent le développement économique, mais aussi ils veulent préserver leurs traditions. C'est possible d'avoir un et l'autre. Il faut voir comment l'infrastructure de transport peut faciliter cette transition et peut permettre aux Inuits d'atteindre cet objectif.
Troisièmement, nous recommandons que le gouvernement fédéral et du territoire prennent en considération toutes les options du spectre financier. Nous avons développé ce spectre afin de déterminer la contribution de fonds publics lorsqu'il est question de projets d'infrastructure de transport.
Our fourth recommendation is that key stakeholders prioritize projects based on community benefits and their potential to accelerate economic development in Nunavut. The examples above, such as Arviat and Rankin Inlet, demonstrate that the construction of an all-weather road would make these communities more competitive and open to economic development. These communities understand that there are risks related to the construction of this infrastructure, but if collectively they can find ways to mitigate the impact on fauna, flora, and traditional activities, there are many positive aspects of building infrastructure to stimulate the mining industry.
Our fifth and final recommendation is to ensure that the cost to the public, to the taxpayer, is proportional to the social benefits that can accrue from transportation infrastructure. To do that, it's important to consider the full set of both costs and benefits, and then to find a financing arrangement that effectively reflects the distribution of benefits.
The process that we presented is just one step. We need to reinforce that ongoing collaboration and dialogue between all stakeholders, whether they be public, private, or local communities. These must keep happening. Only then will concerns be addressed early on in that key infrastructure projects and get off the ground quickly for the benefit of those in Nunavut, but also for all Canadians. Thank you.
Bonjour Isabelle Hudon. Alors, je vous pose la question à titre de Québécoise, mais également membre d'un conseil d'administration d'une minière en Mongolie. Alors, est-ce que dans vos discussions et dans vos réflexions, vous avez pensé à toute la discussion et conversation au Québec qui prévaut entourant les redevances? Alors, et également, est-ce que vous avez vu de la part du gouvernement territorial un appétit ou un certain appétit pour voir, pour leur voir gagner une indépendance financière, sachant que 91% de leur budget vient du fédéral, avec un système de redevance, voit-il une opportunité de diminuer leur dépendance au financement du fédéral?
Merci pour la question. Je vais commencer, puis si vous voulez rajouter. Alors, en termes de redevances, présentement, les Inuits sont propriétaires de 17% de la terre au Nunavut, mais c'est aussi un 17% qui est très riche. Pour te donner une idée, en 2012, la mine de Meadowbank a généré 2,2 millions en termes de redevances pour le gouvernement territorial. C'est minime à cause de la situation devolution, je ne sais pas comment dire en français, qui n'est pas encore établie. Cette mine aussi a contribué à 15% du GDP du territoire. Alors, c'est sûr qu'étant donné le potentiel immense des minières, on peut certainement voir que s'il y avait d'autres mines et si le gouvernement investissait pour attirer d'autres minières au territoire, que leur dépendance serait nettement réduite.
I'm Adam Pfizer from the Conference Board of Canada. Just as a follow-up to the previous question, what role do you see for Inuit birthright organizations or Inuit economic development corporations in investment for infrastructure?
A lot of the royalties are going to the federal government. the reality is that it's a territory that is not near devolution. I'm trying to hold all judgment from that because I think there are all sorts of challenges that are slowing down the devolution process. The Prime Minister, though, has said publicly that it's a process that he would like to support and see move forward. Until there is further devolution, though, the constitutional makeup of this country is such that the royalties will go and continue to go to the federal government. Is there a greater role for NTI, for ITK in there? Undoubtedly. And it's interesting to see in the media, they are optimistic about the future of royalty payments in Nunavut. Recently, just a few weeks ago, the president of NTI was publicly saying, fantastic, we've received our first royalty payment from the one mine that's in operation, and that they're expecting to see a lot more money coming through that. What's interesting in my mind, though, it's not so much the royalties that are going to be the engine of participation for ITK, it's the relationship directly with the mines.
Hi, Janet King from the Northern Affairs Organization of ANSI, and thank you very much for your very thoughtful analysis and sharing the process, the funnel process that you've demonstrated this morning. I think my question is more on the latter end, which is the financing. And I think we all understand it's a vast territory, vast needs, and a deep, deep infrastructure deficit. So as you were talking to people across the north and thinking through this, how do you choose? How do you do priority setting when there are that many demands?
The thing is that in Nunavut, where there really is no transportation infrastructure of any meaningful kind, there are more benefits than just that are directly associated with the mine, which I think we found to a great extent would justify more public involvement. So that's where we were coming at it when we talked to these mining companies and asked them, well, would you be open to different kinds of partnerships with the public sector? And they said, yes, but those conversations aren't happening. They're saying there's a great deal of willingness to shape the infrastructure initiatives that they are pursuing for their private sector development, but to pursue community goals at the same time. So that's why we started saying, well, perhaps there's something that can be looked at in the middle of that spectrum.